You're listening to I Love It When, and I'm your host, Mo. I'm a speaker, coach, and connector. You're in the right place if you're looking for some inspiration and you're ready to truly embrace who you are. My intention with this podcast is to help you see that you are so much more powerful than you realize. Hey everyone, welcome back to another episode of I Love It When. This is not, I feel like this, I should just say, like, we've just been recording another episode. So if you listen to the previous one where Kristin interviewed me, we've just continued on our fun afternoon. And I really asked Kristin, hey, would you be okay staying on to talk about friendship? Because I've been wanting to do another episode. So I brought her on again. And now I feel like I'm skipping over my words. Oh my gosh, you guys, welcome back to I Love It When podcast. Where now Kristin and I will be having an interactive discussion about friendship. And so I've told her to continue to act as a co-host because this conversation is going to be less about me interviewing Kristin and more about us having a conversation about this. Because ever since I've met Kristin about 4 years ago, we've talked about our friendship and we've talked about friendship in general as healers and coaches and people who are out in the community working one-on-one and in groups with people. This comes up a lot. And I've heard this talked about a lot from other coaches and healers that I know. It's something that a lot of people struggle with, kind of where's that line and boundary between friend and client, and how many people say they want to be friends with us. So, Kristin, thank you for staying on this episode this afternoon. And could you tell people, if they're just tuning into this episode, who are you and a little bit about you?
Well, if you're just tuning in and you just watched the last episode, yeah, I had a sweet outfit change. Yeah, I
You
had
did.
to. I needed to bring in some different energy. This is fun, more fun, because we're
Yes.
having fun. So I'm Kristin Wise. I own Wise Holistic Healing, and Wise Woman Consulting Services, and they're basically just both the same thing, just different horses of a different color. And I help people with burnout. I help people start to integrate holistic healing. I help people start to take steps towards self-care. I help people who are really busy, who are really frozen in fight or flight, to start taking those steps to unravel it all and heal and feel good.
Mm-hmm. Oh.
Simply put, we'll put it that way.
Mm-hmm.
Simply put.
So when I asked you to do this episode on friendship, what was
hmm
like your first thought?
Oh, blah, 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 blah. Here's why. Vomit. Even before we pressed record, I was like, I'm fucking nervous. Oh, by the way, in case you didn't know, we're probably gonna swear like a lot. So
Probably, yes.
if we do
Cover your
rated
ears.
rated E, not rated E for everyone. If you're sensitive to that, maybe this ain't the episode for you. But yeah, I felt really nervous because this is something, like you just said, I'm going to reiterate it, is that I have this is probably what I would consider the biggest problem in my business, is
Hmm.
that and we were talking just like 2 seconds. Believe me, people, we're not talking for hours before we start this. It's just like, boom, here we go.
Yeah.
So, but we were just talking for 2 seconds about something that my husband had said, which was, he said, I think a big reason why you have such a problem with clients wanting to become your friend and you wanting to become friends with your clients, even, in a lot of cases, is just that this is such intimate, deep, personal, soul-bearing work. And when
Hmm.
you get on that level of intimacy with someone, it is so, so hard to stay professional, I guess we'll put it.
Hmm.
That's not it. I don't know.
Yeah, I know what
But
you mean.
there's like this, because I'm all in and I know you are too. Like, it's
Hmm.
like, I love you, I care about you, you're my
Hmm.
number one top priority. Like, and all of this is just because we've signed on to care about
Hmm.
them and to listen in this way. And then
Hmm.
that gets misunderstood, or
Hmm.
I don't
Hmm.
know. That's what we're here to talk about.
Yeah. Yeah. I told Kristin before we started this episode, I said, hey, listen, I just want to say this out loud. And I found that when I say things out loud, it's not just for myself. There's usually something in it that somebody else needs to hear. I don't expect us to come up with an answer or a process or anything in particular with this episode. I just feel very called to talk about it. And I
Mhm.
think talking about it with you, because you and I have talked through our friendship. Like we talked through, I feel like we were super open and really communicative about building a friendship together. And I love
Mhm.
that. And I
Mhm.
think other people would love to hear about that. And also just to hear people talk about this because it can be really gut wrenching because we care so much about people. And the people that we work with are oftentimes people who have deep empathy and care a lot as well. And
Mhm.
so it's all about educating ourselves and getting to a place where we feel empowered to be clear on boundaries and be clear on what friendship is for us. So let's start off talking a little bit about little Margaret and little Kristin. And yes,
I
what do you
asked,
think?
I was like, can we talk about that?
What do you want to start off talking about with our
Mm,
little ones? Like,
I think that that's one of the things. Like, you can be friends with anybody, but there's something there that, like, when I first met you, and the more I got to know you, I would say probably the first time we hung out in person
mhm,
was when I started realizing, oh shit, this girl has a little version inside of her. Her little Margaret is the same as little Kristen. And like,
mhm,
in please go listen to the last episode because it was magic. But um, in that, like, you were talking about your innocence, even like
mhm, mhm,
shit, like my mom, like, she's like, I love this about you, but like, I'm so embarrassed to talk about it. But like, this is something that we have in common is that, like,
mhm,
I was 15 years old, y'all, dressed up like Little House on the Prairie, like
mhm,
14, 13, 14, 15. As far as
mhm.
I probably didn't go as far as 15, but pretty close, got
Yeah,
pretty close to that line of like dressing up like Little House on the Prairie and running around my yard and like
yeah.
playing with dolls still, and like all these other girls like were like piercing their belly buttons and like talking about like sexual things they were doing and all this kind of stuff. And
Mhm,
I was like, oh my God, like,
mhm,
what's this? Like, I just wanted to
mhm,
play with dolls and be so innocent and
mhm.
like, and like that's the thing that I think I saw. Like, it was almost like I could recognize that. I was like, oh my
Yeah.
gosh. And like we both realized we love Little House on the Prairie. We both realized we loved Anne with an E. We both had like a
Mhm,
lot of really innocent, like vulnerable parts of ourselves that
mhm.
not a lot of people get to see. But we were
Yeah.
like, wait, what? Like, we have this in common. This is crazy.
Yeah, it's interesting, talk about those shows if you're listening and you've watched those shows before. There's something about Little House on the Prairie and also Anne with an E that taps into a very deep emotional part of me.
Hmm.
And I read those books, I watched the shows, and it was just like Little House on the Prairie, I think, was more about the story and feeling like I was deeply connected to that time. And I've seen how that connects now with different healers that I've met with about past lives and things like that. But
Hmm.
Anne with an E, it was like watching someone on screen who can actually express themselves in a way that I never felt like I was able to. Like she had the words to say how she
Mm.
felt, and she used like these extravagant words that I just loved. And there was something about that that very much just resonated with me. So yeah, when I found out uh, not only that you watched those shows, but just got to see how you expressed yourself when we were just talking, it was very
Mhm.
evident that we aligned in that way. And I think the world is sometimes people are so afraid to really allow that innocence to just be that there are
Mhm.
parents who are like, hey, don't talk like that. Hey, you need to like watch that because that's not going to be accepted. And they're worried that you're not going to be accepted in the world. And so they try to tamp that down. Uh,
Both our mothers worried about that for us, where they were
mhm.
like, "Oh no, you're too sweet and innocent for this world. You're gonna get chewed
Yeah.
up."
Yeah. Yeah. My
Oh.
mom specifically, I'll never forget her saying, like, I am worried that your heart is just too big.
Mm-hmm.
It's so big. And I was like thinking at the time, like, what does that mean exactly? Uh,
Right
why?
into
What
my.
do you mean? Like, is it oversized in my chest or was it? But I didn't know any other way to be because I
Mhm.
care so deeply about people. It's like deep, 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 intense love.
Yes.
Which is why, like, even my partners and Tom has been the first one who can express that and understand me, even if he couldn't accept it right away, because it's so overwhelming. Like, it's so, I think, from an energetic level, he can feel energy so deeply. my energy is quite overwhelming for him sometimes because it just pours
Mhm.
out of me.
Yeah.
But the fact that he could see it and name it has given me so much validation, and he's okay with it. It's taking him a little while to adjust, but
Sure.
he is open to it. And I think that our little selves are so deeply connected on that level, like you and I, but then also everybody, when you're little, we're
Hmm.
connected to that energy. We're connected to the energy of love. And if we're not allowed to continue to thrive in that and express it, we can tamp it down and we kind of lose it a little bit.
Well, and we can also just be weird. We can just be
Yeah.
ourselves. You know, like I just
Yeah.
think about even just being weird. Like,
Yeah.
well, I just feel like moving my body all weird. You know, and it's like, oh, okay. Like now as an adult, I can't just stand there in line at the grocery store and be like, I need to freaking move my body all. We have to control ourselves and
Yeah.
change ourselves to fit in. And I
Yeah.
think that that's one of the things that you and I really early on, we were like, okay, we want to fit in, we need to fit in, but also like but this is who I am. This is me,
Hmm.
you know. I'm like this dorky, you know, I'm gonna put on a thousand plays for my parents. Like, you know
Hmm.
what I mean? Like there's just this version of myself that like not a lot of people get to see, but
Hmm.
for some reason that version of myself, that inner child saw your inner child and she
Hmm.
was like, but that's us. No, we want to be friends with her because that's us. That's us too, you know what I mean? And
Hmm.
I just think that yes, everyone has it, but not a lot of people show that vulnerability because it's like,
Hmm.
I'm going to get made fun of. I'm going to all the reasons that we hide that light in the first
Hmm.
place.
Hmm. So true. How do you
Mhm.
think little Kristen defined friendship, and how do you define it now?
I think little Kristen just wanted to be accepted. She just wanted to
Hmm.
be loved. She was picked on so badly. I moved around a lot, so like just I wanted everyone to be my friend. Like in kindergarten, like the teacher was like, Kristen just wants to be friends with everyone. Like that was what she wrote on my report card. And my mom's like, yeah, she's got a problem with talking. She talks too much. She's this, you know, because I just wanted to make connections. And that was very much
Yeah.
who I am. And now friendship is so different. Um, I think friendship, it's hard to put your finger on it. We were trying to like sum it up in a
Hmm.
conversation we recently had, and I was like, it's just it's a thousand things all at once. It's hard to describe friendship, which is why we're here on this podcast right now.
That's exactly why we're here.
That's exactly why we're here.
We're
That
going to
is
find a
exactly.
definition that just gets used worldwide.
So, what about you? What did you? I'm gonna keep playing this game
Hmm.
probably the whole podcast. Sorry, everybody.
It's
Um,
okay.
Cringe, but what about for you? For you, what was how you defined friendship as a
Mm.
child and how does that change today?
I think, again, this is another place where we were similar. I think for me, it was about acceptance. So if somebody accepted me and wanted to play with me, that was a friend.
Boom.
Boom. Easy peasy, breezy, beautiful, cover girl. That's just what happened. Yeah,
Hashtag
and I
not
think
sponsored.
not
Unless you want
sponsored
to be.
whatsoever. Yes, reach out to
Unless you
me.
want to be, you know, please DM us.
Yeah, I think something I think back to too is my mom was heavily involved in our elementary school. And so she
Mhm.
was a part of the PTA, she was a part of a lot of different activities. And at that point, when I was like fifth grade and younger, so like 10 years old and younger, I didn't have a problem with it. Like I wasn't embarrassed by it. And somebody told me, I'll never forget this too, in the girls' bathroom at my John Rogers Elementary School, you're really cool. And I was like, what do you mean I'm cool? And she's like, yeah, you're super cool because your mom like does all these different things. And I was like, oh, I didn't realize that that meant I was cool. Shoot. Okay. And that's the first time I think I was ever called that. So I didn't know that that was a thing. What did that mean? Like I was accepted. I was cool. Well, once I left elementary school, I don't think it was just because my mom continued to volunteer and do things, but all of a sudden the kids changed and I was
Mm.
not cool. I
Oh.
got told like in sixth or seventh grade that my jeans, I liked to see my jeans. The bottom of my jeans had this little space after the bottom, and then my socks would be there and it'd be like pink or blue, like some color, but there was a skin space between the ends of the jeans. And it was very specific, and I loved it. And I was told that that was not the cool way to wear your jeans. And then also, I was told after gym class that it was time for me to get a bra, even though I barely had anything.
Ooh.
So, but it was comments like that about my physical appearance that just like tore me down. Like I didn't know
Mm.
what I was supposed to know. And so things like that shaped. And so I think now for me, friendship is completely different. It's yes, it's still about play and acceptance, but it's also reciprocal. And I think that's the
Mm.
main difference that I want to make about the definition is it's not just about a thumbs up. Yes. I forgot that it does that sometimes.
Okay, spirit confirmation. Yep. Oh.
Oh
If you
my
would like to
God,
learn
that
more
was
about
crazy.
spirit confirmation, please go to the other episode.
That's hilarious.
Wow, that's amazing. And I think that that's like a sign. So
Yeah.
pause it, write it
So
down,
it's not, oh my
everybody.
God, it's not like just like I want to play with people and be accepted. I do want those things. But I like to think of it too like I heard somebody describe this recently that they have like their town and then they have suburbs or outside villages. And if you want in on the town, like the inner town where the like your immediate family is, that's a certain level of friendship. That's like the inner circle. But
Mm,
she has a bunch of people who are in the towns outside of the main town, like in the villages
yeah.
outside. And so I liked that definition because I think for a long time I didn't have a definition. And so I let anybody and everybody get close to me, not realizing
Mm,
that they were not valuing my time, my energy, and I wasn't getting the same thing in return. So I was everything to everyone. And when I
mm-hmm.
heard that comment come out of one of my friends' mouths, they said, Margaret is everything to everyone. It was like this absolute shock to my system where I said, I know I can't be that. If I'm
Mm-hmm.
truly being that for everyone, that I'm being like a chameleon. I'm not being myself. I can't do that. And that was really a point, I think, when I started to realize like I had to shift some things and I had to start doing the really, really hard work of setting boundaries, saying no, and
Mm.
telling people the truth.
This is the hardest part though, but this is why I think okay, so two parts of this. One is that, that is, I think that feels like rejection.
Hmm.
To me, this feels like setting boundaries feels like rejection. And
Hmm.
I want to do everything I possibly can to not have anyone feel rejected because I was rejected so much growing up,
Yep.
especially in terms of friendship.
Hmm.
And so I think that that's why flicker of the lights confirmation. And if you don't like that kind of stuff, I know. Like, I'm going to be talking about it all podcast. So it's okay.
It's
Expand your
okay.
horizons, expand your
Hmm.
horizons.
Hmm.
Um, but I also think that one of the other things too is that I really view, and I think you feel this way too, let me know if you don't, but
Hmm.
I really view everyone as a friend. So the
Hmm.
person that I get my coffee from, I'm like, oh, that's my
Hmm.
friend, blah, 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 who works at the coffee shop, right? Like, she's not actually my friend.
Hmm. Hmm.
And
Hmm.
like, I feel that way with even like
Hmm.
people who follow me on TikTok,
Hmm.
who are like
Oh
commenting every day.
yeah,
I'm
that is
like,
that deep spiritual connection of we are all one. And so yeah,
mm-hmm.
you can call it a friend, you can call it I I think I try not to use the word friend because I don't want people to get it mixed up.
Well,
But
now I got to be careful, right?
yeah, right? But I totally agree with you. That is I think the essence of our little selves and the essence of all of us as humans as I love everyone.
You're right.
I love so deep. I love the people who have hate. I love the people who are angry. I love the people who are resentful. I love the people who are joyful. I have a love for humans. And so because of that, yes, I totally think that same way.
They're all my friends, but I don't have a friendship with them. Friendship
Hmm.
to me is
Hmm.
where I start to decipher things.
Hmm.
And that's where things change for me is like,
Hmm.
oh, we're in a friendship. Like
Hmm.
you and I, we are friends. We are in a
Hmm.
friendship.
Hmm.
I call you my friend, but it's we're engaged in something deeper than that. Where
Hmm.
most people I just call friend because, and this has
Hmm.
gotten me into trouble. This has gotten me into trouble because it's like, same word, same thing with sister. Using the
Yeah.
word sister, you know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
sacred sisters and things like that. Like
Hmm.
it's about women coming together to move through something together. It
Hmm.
doesn't literally mean now you're blood sisters or what. Like I
Hmm.
think movies and TV shows and all these types of things
Yep.
influence how we
Yep.
look or think or feel about these things.
Yep.
And then it's like oh, and then I hate that disappointment of like the other person's like,
Hmm.
well, you're rejecting me. Oh, you don't like me. Oh, you don't. That's not the case at all. It's
Hmm.
just that we only have capacity
Yeah.
to be able to be in a friendship with so many people. I
Hmm.
think you can only have 50 meaningful connections in your life at a time. I think this is a statistic. Um, that
Mm.
you can only have 50 meaningful connections in your life at a time, like mentally, like your brain can
Wow.
only
Yeah, that's a
handle
lot.
like, because you got to
Yeah.
know their names and like the people in their
Oh
family and
yeah.
like what their interests are and stuff like that. So like people have to come and go
Yeah.
just even for that reason alone.
Yeah. Well, I think what you're hitting upon too that I've come to recognize because have been such a researcher and a studier and an observer in my life, because I was trying to learn and figure out this world, people define words differently all the time. And I think this is the
Mm,
root of a lot of miscommunication and the root of a lot of angry people
mm-hmm.
is somebody says something and the other person hears that word and they have a whole other idea of what that word means based on how they were raised, what's happened to them, all these. So then they start to argue, and I'm like, but don't you guys see you're both saying the same thing? You're just using different definitions. And so I think the same thing can be said about friendship is how some person defines friendship could be something else for someone else. And I think the thing that we come across quite often, and I think other people, I mean, if you're listening, hey, like I talk about this with a lot of healers in the healing community, but also just it doesn't matter what you do for work. People have this happen to them all the time. Friendship is I just lost track of what I was going to say. It was
Ah.
something really good. But talking about the definition of friendship, like it's just different for everybody.
Yeah, that
And you,
everyone communicates differently and views it differently. And so some persons,
hmm.
yeah, I had a teacher say this to me in community. I have a bachelor's degree in communications, and the teacher said to me once, okay, picture a dog, right? And she said this to the whole
Mm,
class, and everyone pictured a dog in their head. And she's like, okay, now picture a black dog. And everyone's like, oh, okay. And so then we watched as everybody shifted their perspective. They had all been picturing a dog, and then as soon as she
yeah.
said black dog, then she said small black dog, and now everyone's the more information that they had, the more
Yeah.
they
The
kept
more accurate
drilling
it could
down.
get.
Now they
Yeah.
have curly hair and they have a
Yeah.
pink collar and they have this. And now everyone could kind of see clearer what the
Hmm.
dog was that she was trying to describe. But if she just said the word dog, everyone's like,
Hmm.
okay, uh, thousands of different dogs pop up in everybody's head.
Hmm.
And I think it's the same way. I think this is what you were trying to say is
Hmm.
that like it's the same way with friendship that
Yeah.
like everyone views some people are like you're my friend and that's a big freaking deal in my life. Some people are like, oh yeah, I have hundreds of friends. It's
Yeah.
all
Yeah.
perspective.
Totally. No, you're right. That's exactly what I was trying to say. Thank you. Thank you so much.
You're
If we
so
think of
welcome.
ourselves like that teacher in that instance, then it makes me think of it even differently too. Like it's our job to define what friendship is for us then. Because if people are coming to us wanting to be yeah, right. Oh, that's where it gets, oh my God, I have to say what I want. I have to actually just, yeah. And so understanding that and understanding that it was my responsibility to tell people, here's what makes a good friend. If you want to be a good friend to me, here's what it takes. And
Mm,
that I don't like telling people what to do. And I think that's because I don't like being told what to do. And I also to fully step into my power and own my power and speak my truth, it is to give boundaries. It is to say, this is how I define a friendship. And I have
mm,
to be okay that that might not work for everybody. And not everybody's supposed to be my friend in that level of friendship. I can still love people, but they're not going to
mm-hmm,
want to be close to me. And I have to accept that that's not rejection. I think it all goes back to like rejection and not wanting to be rejected, not wanting to reject someone else. But I
mm-hmm.
recognize that the thing that really helps me, I think, too, is realizing that all of this work actually really helps people. And that by not giving people boundaries, by not telling people what friendship means to me, I was actually hurting them. And
See,
when I
and
think
this
about it
is
like that, it helps me.
that's such a good point. And like there's been so many friendships I've had in the past where these were like super deep, super meaningful. I've even lived with some of these people, like super
Hmm.
deep, super meaningful relationships. And then I eventually just like ghosted them because it stopped working, you know? And
Yeah.
that's a form of hurting someone just as much as
Hmm.
not giving your boundaries. Because if you
Hmm.
just ghost a friend or you just say, like, hey, I don't want to be friends anymore after a period of time, like,
Hmm.
I've had to lose a lot of friendships that way because I could not continue to care about them on the same level that I did at one point in time in my life
Yeah.
because of life
Yeah.
changes, you know? And then they're like,
Yeah.
This hurts so bad because I wouldn't communicate it with them, but it's because I was trying to avoid hurting them. Oh my God,
Hmm.
beautiful. There's
Yeah, it's
something
really
there.
I realized somebody that helped me realize that was it was actually a colleague that was my like assistant for the team that I was on, Sarah
Hmm.
Trosky, and I've talked about this with her openly in so many different ways, but we were in a coaching relationship where she was technically someone that I was supervising, and so we would meet every week and talk about her goals and everything. And she was so fantastic for me in so many ways because she taught me how to speak my truth and give constructive feedback and know that it was going to be okay because she was very different from me. She is very different. She is a lot less emotional. And so she would be sitting there, I would be the one crying, and she'd be sitting there like, tell me the truth. Tell me exactly what you say. Don't filter it. Just give it to me. And I'd be like, okay, but
Yeah.
I would finally get it out and it would help her grow. And that's
Hmm.
when I recognized, oh shit, if I don't actually give Sarah the real true feedback that I see about how she can grow her empathy, how she can grow her communication skills, how can she work better with clients, I'm not helping her. I'm actually hindering her. And so when you tell me that, and I'm like, it's actually this makes me a more like a person with higher integrity. This actually will improve me by telling my truth, by setting these boundaries. That was motivating to me. I get it's got to serve people and not
Mm.
just serve myself. And so that has really helped me because I I'm also much better now at accepting rejection because of
Hmm.
this. I think so. Because if I can tell a friend, hey, here's what it takes to be friends with me. And if they say, no, thank you, and it hurts for a second, it'll hurt for a second, but then they're better off because they can go find a friend that fits whatever that is that they want.
Hmm.
And then other people will be drawn to me who fit what I want. And it's just you have to do it. I use it now. I think of it like a filter process. If I speak my truth and it doesn't resonate with someone, they'll walk away, but it'll draw people to me who I really actually do want in my circle.
Hmm.
So it's a
Hmm.
filtering system. It really is what it is.
Yeah. Can we talk about this with clients, like how
Yes.
this works with clients? Because, like, I think that this is one of the reasons why we were, you know, by we, I mean you, we're sparked to talk, start this, you and I have had this
Hmm.
conversation many a time behind the scenes.
Yeah.
We've had this conversation with other healers. We've had this
Hmm.
conversations with clients.
Hmm.
We've had this conversation up and down, but never publicly.
Hmm.
So I want to talk, if you're okay with this, about
Hmm.
talking about how clients and friendship and those weird boundaries.
Yeah. Yeah. The first thing that I think of is something I was told by one of my best friends now, Jared Burton. He always says this as well. Like when I sat in his chair for the first time, and after a couple months, I was like, I might have said something or he might have said something. I can't remember, but I think I probably said like, wow, I could really be friends with you. And he was like, I'm not friends with my clients. And I was like, okay, I get it. And then, within 6 months, he actually asked me out to dinner like 6 months later and said, yeah, I decided like it's time for us to be friends. And so he told me later
Mm,
on that he sets that boundary and he's the one that makes the decision on if he truly wants to be friends with a client because it
mm.
usually doesn't happen. So there's this line, I think, and you brought it up earlier with what your husband Chris said about how, oh, I think actually we hadn't hit record yet when
Oh,
we,
yeah, yeah, we can share that. So my husband Chris said
okay.
to me the other day that he thinks one of the biggest reasons why this problem happens so often where like clients get hurt that we can't
Hmm.
stay friends with them past the work or that we're
Hmm.
not as invested or we don't, it's because no, like very rarely do people have someone who is all in invested in them, who
Hmm.
cares so deeply, who's willing to talk about some of the things that they've never even
Hmm.
thought about, let alone
Hmm.
unearthed. And
Hmm.
it creates this super, super intimate connection between
Yep.
us. And then when we end, coaching program or healing program or whatever, that person wants to continue to either
Hmm.
give us life updates or share things or stay
Hmm.
connected. Or, here's the thing, here's the hard part is that I want to hear all those things, you know what I mean?
Hmm.
But I have to create my own boundaries because
Hmm.
otherwise it would just be too much, but like that we have to stop that continuation of anything that happened in those
Hmm.
sessions. And then that's really hard for them to understand because they're like,
Hmm.
wait, what? You don't care about me? Like, was that all fake? Or like, what the F? Like, how can you just turn it off? And it's our
Hmm.
job to turn it off because
Yeah.
like it's not that we are fake or that we don't care. In fact, it's quite the opposite. It is
Quite the
pain.
opposite.
It is painful for me to not know
Hmm.
what's going on with my clients anymore. That
Hmm.
I'm like, oh my God, I hope they're okay. I love them. But
Hmm.
it's like, and like you said in the last episode too, it's really, we want our clients to be done with us. That is our job, is to be done with
Hmm.
us. And so I think that this is where there's so much pain and
Hmm.
suffering that doesn't need to happen. And this is
Hmm.
why we're going to address it. So that was the background story.
Thank you for that context. Yes.
Thank you for asking about the context.
Hey, I'm popping in for a moment to let you know that if you're interested in working with me one-on-one in a small group, or you'd like to attend one of my upcoming retreats, please reach out or add yourself to my email list. You can go to iloveitwhen.org and scroll to the bottom where you'll see there's a spot to sign up. I also love to speak, teach, and create experiences for small, medium, or large-sized companies. If you know someone that I should know, please connect us. I'm looking to utilize I Love It When to create global change, and that will require collaborating with all of you. You're all so much more powerful than you realize. Remind yourself of that today. Yeah, I think this is a really important piece. And I've talked to a lot of different healers. Like you said, we've both talked to a lot of healers about this. And I think one of the most important things we can do is set those boundaries up front with clients. And I don't usually bring up friendship as an option. Usually if it happens, it's the client that brings it up at some point. And I feel like, and you've said this a bit about my energy, there's something about the way that I carry myself and the way like my body language and the way that I act that I feel like sets it's almost like this invisible boundary. Like I don't even have to say anything. People just know.
That's true.
Um, but that's taken some time to develop. So, but when someone brings it up to me and says, "Hey, like, could we be friends outside of this?" It always catches me off guard when it happens, and I've found different ways to address it and talk about it. And so, using us as an example, I remember we kind of started to talk about it probably within the first 6 months of talking and working together. And I remember saying something like, I can definitely see us being friends. And let's just see how this develops. Let's give it time. Because I think the thing that I've learned the most around friendship and people who say they want to be my friends is that I have learned to, yet again, like you said in the last episode, give myself time and space and take a breath and let it be. Because I have had people manipulate me and try to
Mhm.
use my energy and use my connections and just use me. And especially in the
Mhm.
real world, that just happened a lot. And I think that there were a number of reasons why it happened, but one of those was to help me develop this kind of bit of a process for figuring
Mhm.
out who really wants to be friends with me for the right reasons. And so because of that, when you take it slow, people who aren't willing to be patient, they just leave. And I
Mhm.
found that those narcissistic or kind of energy sucking folks will show their red flags much faster when you do that. When you are trying like slowing the situation down, slowing the conversation down, they don't like that because they like to go fast because it's easier to manipulate people when you're just going really fast. So that's kind of an extreme example. But with someone who just wants to be your friend, I've also found though that they don't like to go slow either. So they will usually lose
Mhm.
interest and drop off and whatever. But I think I start out by saying, hey, it's really nice that you want to be friends. I don't have capacity right now for another friendship, but
Mhm.
stay connected and we'll just see what happens. And it's 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 trying to
It's a
find the
nicer way to say it's a nicer way to say it than I'm not accepting friend applications right now, which is my response.
well, it's hard because That's why I sent this Instagram reel to Kristen the other day because it really
Oh,
spoke to
talk
me
about it.
and it was
Yes.
such a good reel. And I am constantly looking for scripts for myself around this because I don't always have the right words. And I don't think there are right words. I think you go with whatever your intuition says to you at the moment. But this woman videotaped herself going into her therapist's appointment one day, and then she shared it with the therapist's permission, and it was fantastic. She went into her appointment
Mm.
that day, and she said to her therapist, "Hey, I want to bring this up before our appointment. I want to be friends with you. Do you think we could be friends? Because I've really enjoyed getting to know you, and it's just been so much fun, and I want to be friends with you." And the therapist said, "Oh, that is so flattering. Thank you so much. If we had met before this, like out in the world, I could totally see us being friends. But you know what? I really love being your therapist. I really love being your therapist. And I think right now you need a therapist more than you need another friend." And when she said that, I was like, drop the mic, drop the mic.
Right. Wake it, drop it.
Oh my
Yeah.
God.
Drop
It
it.
was so, I just like, okay, immediately I have to send this to Kristen because I think she approached it in such a responsible and ethical and also friendly way that
Yeah.
she didn't deny that they had a connection, but she just said, in all honesty, that's why you came to me. You came to me for a therapist, not for another
Mm.
friend. And I think that's the same reason that people find us is because they can connect with us so that we can be there with them in those really intimate moments. But they need us as a healer and as a coach, not as a friend. They're not looking
Yeah.
for another friend. And I think, like you said, we also find people at different parts of their journey. And so sometimes people don't realize that they haven't defined what a friendship is to them yet, or they don't know that they're not actually able to give me what I need. They don't think about that. They just think about, I want to be in Margaret's presence. I want to be in Kristen's presence. They're not thinking, well, what do I have to offer Kristen? What
Oh
do I
my
have
gosh.
to offer Margaret?
Literally never. Rare, very rare, very rarely.
And
Very
that
rare.
sounds,
They don't.
I always felt like, oh my God, that's so selfish of me to say. But then I started to realize, like you said earlier too, I will be a shell of a human if I don't have good boundaries and keep the people who are closest to me. If I'm not aware of what they're bringing to me,
Mhm.
I'm not doing myself any service. And I have
Mhm.
disserved myself, if that's even a word.
Yeah,
I have
I think
not
so.
served myself for most of my life. And I've not, by not serving myself and not taking care of myself, it's not actually helped the world. It's actually, I am my best self when I'm taking care of me. And that includes who gets access to me and who gets to spend time with me. And that's someone who's going to give to me as much as I give to them.
Yeah, it's not egotistical. It's just that I don't think many people realize that they don't, it's not reciprocal. Like I have, like this has been an illness. I would go as far as to say an illness in my business and been one of the things that has been the most harmful in my business is
Hmm.
that this lack of boundaries. And then
Hmm.
also on my part, on my part of not having the boundaries because I didn't want to hurt people or wanted to whatever. And
Hmm.
then, having some genuine connections with people, like one of my clients allowed me to come live with her for an entire month. And then, yeah, of course, we became friends from there,
Hmm.
and that developed over time. And then other clients seeing that I like had this relationship and then I want to be part of that. And then, but it's like that. And it's not just, oh my gosh, open up your home to me for to stay for a month. That's not how you become my friend. It's just that this person, shout out Desiree, for saying, like, I see you. She
Hmm.
really saw me. And we started having multiple different relationships like you and I have. We
Hmm.
have business friendship. We have,
Hmm.
I've hired you, you've hired
Hmm.
me.
Hmm.
We're also friends. Like there's all
Hmm.
these different relationships
That's a lot
and
to juggle.
but I need it. If I'm going to
Hmm.
be friends with a
Hmm.
client, it has to be that way. Otherwise, I
Yeah.
can't do it. And I see so
Yeah.
many clients be like, "Hey, tell me about your life. I want to be your friend too." And I'm like,
Hmm.
That's not how this works.
Yeah. Yeah.
And even though I feel close to him, I'm like, that it's just this isn't what this is,
Hmm.
what this,
Hmm.
especially in a membership or a group
Yeah.
of people all together,
Yeah.
you know what I mean? Like it's
Hmm.
easier to be more chill, and you probably
Hmm.
see this in group coaching too.
Hmm.
But you still have to hold those firm boundaries
Oh,
because
yeah. I even
feelings get hurt.
just this morning, I had a coaching client ask me, well, how are you doing? Before we get off the call, how are you?
Oh my God,
And I
I
said, oh,
know.
it's so sweet of you to ask, people, and I joked with her. I said, people ask me that, um, and I'm like, I'm doing well, but I'm not going to go in depth about it because you're paying me to be on this call right now.
Mm-hmm.
And so I say that and I say everything's going really well. I'll give them like the 20-second overview, but I'm not
Mm-hmm.
going to go in depth about it because this relationship is I'm holding the container and it's my
Yeah.
job. I'm holding space for you. That is a
Mm-hmm.
job and I'm doing it and you're paying me to do it. And I'm never going to cross that line because this is part of why I do such a good job because I intentionally listen, hold space, and I'm on. So when I'm listening to whether it be your Marco Polo that you've sent me or an email that you've sent me, I put my coach hat on and I am responding from a coach perspective. And that takes a lot of
Mm-hmm.
energy, which is
Mm-hmm.
why I charge what I charge because I know that I'm pouring into them outside of those 45-minute sessions. I'm thinking about them, I'm sending them ideas, I'm sending them connections that actually make a change in their life. And that takes energy. And I think what a lot of people haven't realized about people who are in these roles as healers, coaches, therapists, this work, if you're not a healer or a therapist or a coach and you don't work primarily with people and relationships like this, I think it's hard to understand the amount of energy that goes into it
Oh my gosh, for
and what
sure.
that's like because there's not anything, it's not like we're creating a product that you can see in front of us. This is all unseen. And so I
Yeah.
don't think they understand the amount of energy that it takes. And this is what people are paying for. And I take that very seriously. So, and it takes a lot of energy to really do this work and to do it well.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And you do such a wonderful job at setting those boundaries though. I've hired you several occasions to help me with this because it's like one of the things that I find to be the hardest in this work because you just want to be open and vulnerable and you need
Hmm.
to be a healer.
Hmm.
You need to
Hmm.
you can't be like I'm not accepting friends right now. You have to be
Yeah.
like, I'm your friend.
Yeah.
Yes, I'm here for you. Like,
Hmm.
I've helped people birth themselves for gosh sakes, which
Hmm.
sounds wild, and it is a wild process, but it's
Best
like
wild thing ever.
best wild thing ever. But
Best.
like they are moving, they're screaming, they're letting out their emotions.
Yeah. It's very, very intimate.
I
Yeah.
do a different kind of energy healing for sure
Hmm.
that has to allow that person to, and I need to know, I need them to know like I am
Hmm.
right there with you. I'm not, I'm
Hmm.
you, I have you and I'm good at that part, but
Hmm.
the boundaries piece, forget it. Forget it because it's
I
like,
think you've gotten a lot better though.
oh,
I think you've gotten a lot
well,
better. I think kind of like me too.
because I hired you to help me through this.
Oh,
It's
well,
been
thank you.
so difficult. I think
Well,
every healer, every therapist, every coach struggles with this.
It's
And
hard. And I think
and
that's why
clients struggle.
yeah, we get into this business because we care and we want to help.
Mhm.
And so when you have that kind of compassion, you have to eventually learn this lesson. And that's what I
Mhm.
think you and I have been going through. And I started to learn this lesson really back in like 2012, 2013. And that's when I started to integrate books and leadership learnings, different people that were talking about this because I needed the language because I sure as heck did not have it. I didn't have the right words to say. I didn't know how to
Mm-mm.
express how I felt about it. Uh, so it's been a process, but it's been so helpful because I feel so much better and I feel like I'm in integrity too because it matters. It matters for my clients and it also matters for me. I want to
Mhm.
have a life that I feel comfortable in. I want to have a life where the people that I choose to surround myself with support me in the ways
Mhm.
that I want to be supported. And so I think spirituality has helped me so much in this as well because I've recognized that it's not rejection. Like, I think we're all pulled to certain people for certain reasons, for lessons that we need to learn, for parts of our journey where they're going to help us. When you're not pulled towards someone, or when someone's pulled towards you, but you're not pulled towards them, it doesn't mean anything bad. It actually just means maybe you're not supposed to interact right now in this point in your life. And
Mhm.
so learning that and feeling like I've really learned it and really felt it has helped me feel better about letting people go because I've
Mhm.
recognized, hey, this doesn't mean that I think they're a bad person. This just doesn't mean anything bad about them, actually. This just means like right now, I don't think we're supposed to be interacting on that level.
Mhm.
Or whatever happened between us was exactly what was supposed to happen for that time.
Mm-hmm.
And that's really helped bring me a lot of peace about this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's such a layered thing to navigate too,
Hmm.
because I think some people do take it personal, like,
Hmm.
well, that person gets access to you in a different way. And it's just,
Hmm.
uh, it's, it's, it's just like everything else. I don't know
Hmm.
why. It's
Hmm.
not something you can replicate, and I
Hmm.
don't want to encourage that either. Some people are like, well, I can be what you need me to be. And it's like, that's not it.
Hmm.
And that's not this. It's not that
Hmm.
I'm rejecting you. It's not that I'm
Hmm.
better than you. It's
Hmm.
that I have to live I have to live a life for me first and foremost. I have to be able to
Hmm.
put that own air mask on. I have to be able to take care of myself energetically, emotionally, spiritually,
Yeah.
emotionally, blah, 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 blah.
Yeah.
And I need to be sure that this resonates on all the levels, and it does happen over
Hmm.
time. That
Hmm.
relationship, that friendship I developed with Desiree, that took years, years and
Yeah.
years, and it
Yeah.
was her working with me and then me, you know, hiring her even.
Hmm.
And that to me, when we have all those different kinds of multifaceted relationships,
Yeah.
for me, that's what friendship is. I'm like, okay, we
Yeah.
can we can put on our different hats. We respect each other's
Hmm.
boundaries. We
Hmm.
support each other fiercely,
Hmm.
and we
Hmm.
don't and we know how to set gentle, loving boundaries. And it's just
Hmm.
unspoken too. It's not this,
Hmm.
I have to sit down and have a 45-minute conversation with you on
Yeah.
what's up.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, you're making me think too about how I like having friends that have completely different backgrounds too. It's like I don't need to have a friend who believes all the same things that I believe,
Mm,
but they really need to understand and want to see me, I guess
mm-hmm,
is part of it.
mm-hmm,
Yeah. How would you, well, one of my questions for you is what are three things you require in a friendship?
mm. I think that being able to, it's like a dance. I don't know how else to put it. It's like being
Mm-hmm.
able to like flow, being able
Mm-hmm.
to flow, knowing when there's times where you can't talk every day and other times when
Mm-hmm.
you talk 10 times. That kind of flow is really important for me. And that it's not like, you haven't called me in 3 days and no, 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 no. Like, yikes, I
Yes.
can't. I literally
Yes.
can't do that. And I
Yeah.
can't be felt guilty for not checking.
Yes.
Like, all of that's got to go. So
Mm-hmm.
that's important. Reciprocalness in the right way, because I've had so many clients be like, exactly what you said. Okay, but tell me about you. I want to hear about you. I care about you. And that's nice, but it doesn't feel. It's a
Yeah.
feeling where they're
Yep.
like, no, literally, how are you? I saw this thing the other day and like, I also don't want people speculating on my energy or
Mm-hmm.
speculating on how I look,
Mm-hmm.
because I've had that happen 1,000 times before with clients. They're like, oh, your energy feels different. And I'm like, go away. Like,
Mm-hmm.
I don't want that. But it's, like, um, it's like a genuine caring back and forth. And I
Yeah.
think there has to be, like you said, I think the third thing in friendship, I actually need lightness. I need play. I need fun.
Mm-hmm.
I
Mm-hmm.
need to be silly. I recently have had to take a step back away from a very important friendship to me. And I found myself recently just missing the laughter, the jokes, the being able
Mm-hmm.
to just markle them up and be like, "Do-na-na-na-na-na," like, because it's just like I can be my freak self, I can be my real
Yeah.
self. I don't have to be this controlled version of myself.
Yeah.
So I think those are the three most important things for me in
Yeah.
friendship. What about you?
I love that. I was just thinking about something else as you were saying that. Something else came to my mind too. Wow, stuff
Say,
keeps leaving my brain, coming
say,
back in and then leaving again.
say.
I was thinking about how I was thinking like, what do I do when I want to be friends with someone?
Mm,
And I think about like how you and I came to be friends and it was just natural. Like you said, we didn't
mm,
have to push anything. And I think that's something I've learned too is that when you say to someone, oh, that's like if someone were to say to me right now, like, I really want to be friends with you, and they're a client of mine, I would say that is amazing. I would probably use that line that therapist used, like I think right now you need a coach more than a friend, but you know what? We can give this time, and if at some point we feel like it's right, we'll just see how it develops. And when you leave it kind of like that, I don't want to be vague, but I'm also not going to say, yes, I want to be your friend unless I really feel it.
Mm-hmm.
Most people, again, when you give it time, they will not sit there and wait. They will not be patient. They'll walk off and fight because whatever they're looking for is not really friendship with me. It's something else, more immediate. When I've approached someone and I've been interested in being their friend, which doesn't happen every day,
No.
it doesn't happen very often. I don't know what that says
And
about
that
me, but I think
and that's not bad. That's not bad. We're
no,
changing the narrative
we're
here,
changing the
folks.
narrative too, because I'm thinking about the definition of friendship for me is like what we've talked about. It's deeper connection. It's not just an acquaintance. This is someone I want to like spend time with on the regular and let them in on the in part of me. Uh,
Yes.
Usually we don't even talk about friendship. Like we just have more and more conversations and it just happens naturally. I don't have to chase them. They're not chasing me. So if I
Mm-hmm.
were to approach someone, let's say on social media, who I was really a big fan of, like, okay, Gabby Bernstein, I love her. I'd like to know her on a deeper level, but she's got a lot of things going on. She has 1.4 million followers, she's got tons of, acquaintances. But if I were to say, hey, Gabby, I'd love to be your friend, I would not expect her to give me any energy back. But if at some point we ran into each other at an event and we had an opportunity to spend time together and something came naturally and she wanted to be friends with me, it would happen. I don't worry about it, I guess is what I'm trying to say.
Here's the other thing. Okay, I love that you brought this up because here's the other thing. Someone like Gabby Bernstein, you might think you want to be friends with her, but then you could get to know her and be like, oh, I actually don't want to be friends with you. And I
True.
can't tell you
True.
how, if I had a nickel for every time someone online saw one of my TikTok videos,
Hmm.
felt a connection,
Yep.
and then said, I know you, I
Yeah.
want to be friends with you,
And what
you're
they're
my
feeling
friend.
actually is they're feeling love and they're feeling that thing that connects all of us that we've talked about.
Right. Then they
Yeah.
get
And
to
they
know me and they're
misconstrue
like,
it.
oh, wait, like I
Yeah.
think this even happened. Desiree, I'm sending you this episode, girl, because I've been mentioning you so much, but I think even Desiree got to see that, like
Hmm.
you live with someone that maybe
Yes.
you think like, oh my gosh, this is my teacher, this is my
Yes.
guru, my mentor, my whatever.
Hmm.
And then I'm like living in her house eating Doritos, you know what I mean? She's like, oh my God, you're a real person. I'm like,
You're a
yeah,
human. Yeah.
take showers, go to the bathroom, do all the normal
Hmm.
things people do, have problems, you know
Yeah.
what I mean? Have bad
Yeah.
habits, all sorts of things. You get to see someone on a different level, and then you're
Hmm.
like, oh, you're
Hmm.
not who I thought you were. And I think that nine
Hmm.
times out of 10, people want to be friends with who they think I am and not who I
Yep.
actually am.
Yep.
Whoa. Little Kristen just heard that. I don't know. There's something there for me. Beautiful. I love that so much.
Oh, wow. What did she
Yeah.
hear?
I think that she just needed to hear that, like, I don't know, like just that I'm rejecting people out of love because they don't really know me. They just think they know me.
Hmm.
And then that's okay that they think they know me. They don't have to know
Hmm.
me because I want to be understood. I want people to know exactly who I am. We've talked about that.
Exactly. You know exactly who I am.
I need to know every detail about my life.
Yes.
But like people view me as
Hmm.
someone and then they
Hmm.
like, but that's not who I really am. That's
Hmm.
healer Kristen, which
Hmm.
isn't a fake part of me. You've seen
No.
it. It's just
Yeah.
something that
But there's
I can
only
step
so much
into.
that we can get through the screen. There's only so much that they
Ugh.
can't. And I think that's just something for everybody listening to remember as you're watching people on the screen, or if you're on the screen yourself, you're a content creator. And that's also something I've had to let go of is I don't need everybody to know me. I don't need everybody to know all the inner workings. I think I wanted that because I wanted that
Mm.
acceptance.
Mm-hmm.
And so now I accept
That's what it
myself.
is.
Yes.
Yes. That's what
Yeah.
little Kristen needed was just like it's all tied together, but it's acceptance
Isn't it
exactly.
amazing? Yeah. So when you start to realize that, it's so healing because then you kind of, there's still parts of me that when I find myself doing videos, I'm like, ooh, did I describe it as in depth enough as I need to? Did I go on and on for, are they really going to get it? But the truth is, they're going to get whatever message they needed to hear based on their
Yeah.
perception, their whatever. And you kind of have to just let it go and let it be. And so however they perceive you when they're watching your videos, what they're getting, which I think is the beautiful thing, is they're getting the love.
Mm.
And that's what like that's such a the fact that you can portray and put that energy through the screen and they're receiving it on the other side is beautiful. It's
Mm.
beautiful. And so they know that that exists. So now they can go look for it in their world and they can help create it.
Yeah, and it's
Hmm.
real, but it's
Hmm.
not, I'm
It's
not
not
that.
all of you. It's not
That's
all
not
of
who I am
Kristin.
24/7. I'm not walking around being like, and let me just send you some positive. Like I'm
Yes.
funny. I'm like not
Yes.
funny, but I'm like fun
Oh,
and
you are
lighthearted and
funny.
and
Yeah.
silly and goofy.
Yeah.
I'm more silly and goofy than I
Yeah.
am like loving
Yeah.
and like centered and
Oh
like zen
yeah.
and
Yeah.
wow.
Oh, totally. I think I've totally experienced the same thing where I think people hear me on the podcast or they see videos of me teaching or whatever it might be, and then they meet me in person and they're like, whoa, you're
Yeah.
so calm. You're so like that calmness that you felt, they
Yeah.
feel it. And then they're around me, if they're around me for a retreat or if somehow we get a chance to spend like a day together and they get all these in between moments, like I rest a lot. I'm
Mm-hmm.
quiet a lot. I go
Mm-hmm.
on walks where I don't talk to anybody. I'm not extroverted. Like when you start to see all those parts, like you said, it's like they start to remember, oh yeah, she's human.
Mm-hmm.
We're human. We're not, yeah, it's so interesting. I think that felt like really important to talk about that whole part.
I'm surprised. We're talking about things that I didn't expect to talk about, but that feel really liberating to talk
What do you
about.
mean? Which piece?
I just mean all of it. I mean, I don't know that I can actually put my finger on it. I think it's
Okay.
just this really expansive conversation
Mm-hmm.
around all the intricacies that go along with friendship and
Mm-hmm.
especially in the work in the healing world and working as a healer. I think
Yeah.
it is so hard to describe. And, my husband said maybe you need to have like a little video that they watch before they start working together with you so that they understand, like, hey, we're going deep, we're
Yeah.
going in, we're
Yeah.
going raw, real, authentic.
Yeah.
I want you, I've had clients that talk to me about the deepest, darkest secrets they've ever had, that talk
Mm-hmm.
to me about their body.
Mm-hmm.
And they were always like, I'm sorry if this is TMI. I'm like, shut up. Nothing's TMI. Keep going. What else happened? Then what happened? What did your poop look like? This is that. Like, we're
Yeah.
going in that deep. And then it's all
Yeah.
of a sudden like they're 10 weeks or whatever, 13 weeks or up of coaching with me. And I'm like,
Mm-hmm.
okay, Ann, thank you so much. Love ya.
Mm-hmm.
See you around. You know what I
Mm-hmm.
mean? And they're like, wait, what the hell? You don't care? I'm
Yeah.
like, no, I
Yeah.
care, but I can't.
Yeah, I do feel like, do you at the beginning, like as you were talking earlier too, I saw you saying this in my head, like having some sort of a preface, which I'm sure you say something, but maybe emphasizing it even more,
Oh my God,
saying like,
I wish I did. I don't.
oh, okay. So yeah, I could see you adding that into your first session where you say, "Hey, we're going to talk about a lot of really deep things," and you might feel like you're developing a connection to me that is a deep friendship. It's going to feel like that. I don't want you to take this the wrong way, but I want you to remember that I am your coach and your healer first and foremost. And at the 10 of this end weeks, whoa, at the 10, I just totally flipped those words. At the end of those 10 weeks,
Yeah.
we're going to part ways, unless you decide to continue in some sort of fashion with us as a working relationship. And I want you to know that it doesn't mean I love you any less or that that connection's gone. There's something there that I think if you said that, this would help set you up. Yeah,
That's it. I don't love them any less. In fact, I love them more in a way because they're doing it on their own. And I'm like, look at you. Look at you out there flying by
exactly.
yourself. I'm
That's
so proud
exactly
of
how I
you.
feel too. That's exactly how I feel.
Oh, love letters to all my clients who aren't coaching with me at the moment that I just want to send so much love to. I think about them all the time.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And it's so hard to have to hold
Mm-hmm.
back. But I also
Mm-hmm.
think that it's super important because I think there's been times in my business where I overgave and
Mm-hmm.
realized there were so many people that just wanted to be my friend to avoid pain, to
Mm-hmm.
get services for free and things like
Mm-hmm.
that. And that wounded me so badly that
Mm-hmm.
it changed how I interacted
Mm-hmm.
with clients moving forward.
Yeah.
And depending on where someone worked with me will show you where I was in my journey because I'll tell you, like, sometimes I had super loose boundaries, sometimes I had
Yeah.
super rigid boundaries, sometimes I had contracts
Yeah.
in place, sometimes I didn't. Like,
Yeah.
uh, ugh,
Well, you
ugh.
just brought up something that I also wanted to share too is in learning, I've recognized in this journey, working with other healers more and more as I've gotten into the holistic healing arena myself as an energy healer and coaching
Mm-hmm.
people in this. And I've recognized, oh, I had this old habit of putting people on pedestals, and I definitely would put healers on pedestals. And then I met a bunch of healers who have not done their work.
Oh
And I'm like,
yeah.
oh, wait, you can get into this field and you haven't done your work yet? Wait, what?
Mm-hmm.
But
Mm-hmm.
it's, everybody's on a journey, including doctors, nurses, healers, everybody, coaches. And so that's why it's so important to use your discernment, because I could still work with someone who's not totally healed and they'll teach me something.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody has something to teach me. That's how I approach the world. And
Def.
so I think the other thing that I've recognized is a lot of healers uh, will exchange services. And I'm actually not a huge fan of that. And so just talking about this to any healer who's listening, I think it gets people get really burnt out from swapping services. So it's a way to experience each other's work without having to pay. And sometimes it feels right, but I have to say, very rarely do I do it. It's probably like 2 or 3 times a year.
Oh,
Whereas
I
I
would
know some
agree.
healers are doing it monthly all the time. And I feel like I like the way that you and I have done it before. I want to pay you
Mm-hmm.
for when I'm learning something from you. I feel like it just feels right to me. It feels in integrity, it feels energetically clean. Um, but when we've felt right about swapping stuff, we've swapped stuff. And so I just want to
Sure.
encourage you, if you're a healer and you're listening to this, that there might be some ways that you might be leaking energy. And I think that's one of the ways in which I've set some good boundaries that I've realized this is where my integration with my business experience and my healing experience come together in such a beautiful way. Like I'm so glad that I've built this foundation. And I didn't realize I was kind of resenting the foundation because it felt like it's taken me forever to get here. But now I recognize, this is why I did it, because I needed to be able to help other healers set some of these boundaries
Mm-hmm.
energetically, but also in the physical world, like with actual words and verbiage and dialogue and things.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think if you're a healer who's had wounding with friendship too, like you're the perfect coach to go to, because I think I had
Mm,
so many deep wounds about friendship, be with, growing up and not having a lot of friends, being picked on, being
mhm,
an outcast, not being accepted, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Finally stepping into my power and actually having the opposite problem where I had like too many friends and like
mhm,
then was like you said, being everything to everyone. I
mhm,
defined myself by my six friends that I
mhm,
had that were my best friends and like
mhm.
I called them the six and I was part of that problem that's like
Oh,
clicky girl, like blah, blah,
yeah,
blah, 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 blah. Because I was like, now I'm on top. Now I'm in control, right? And like
yeah.
when you get into your healing work, like you can be an amazing energy healer.
Mhm,
And if you still have these woundings, they're gonna show up. Maybe not in
mhm,
your, in, maybe not directly, but indirectly, in
mhm,
these kinds of problems. And I think
mhm,
that I'm a good walking case study and I'm willing to have a conversation. I'll put this out there really with anybody who wants to talk a little bit more about this because like I think that I made so many grave mistakes in my business
mhm,
because of this wounding that I
mhm,
hadn't cleared yet until,
mhm,
you and I got we were working together more specifically on this because I
mhm,
was like, and this is the problem that's bringing my business down is that I cannot set these
mhm,
boundaries. I cannot differentiate friendship and client and
mhm,
how to talk to people about all this kind of stuff
mhm,
and how to heal that wound so that
mhm,
everyone's even more safe. It's really important to
mhm.
me that people who work with me are safe, but they could be even more safe if I go and do a deeper level of healing on this friendship piece.
Mhm. Yeah, it's interesting. I also feel like part of it is you'll also be helping people with this. Like I always feel like when that focus, yeah, when those focuses come to us, like the focus for me around money, which I've always been like, I will never coach people on money because that's not my jam. Well, I've been forced to focus on it in my personal life. So what's happening? I am now coaching people on money. Like I don't
Mm-hmm.
consider myself a money coach yet, but I've had to focus so much of my energy around learning what needed to be healed there that I had to dive in deep. And so when you dive in deep, it fully integrates and you start to recognize how you can help people.
Yeah. I feel
Yeah.
such a call for leading groups of women and
Hmm.
sisterhood and all this kind of stuff, but to do
Hmm.
it in a way that doesn't hurt anybody is super tricky to navigate.
Hmm.
And I
Hmm.
think if you're a woman who's doing this, my great example of someone who's doing this really well is like Silva Lumina. She was someone who was able to hold space for so many different personalities, so many different types of women,
Hmm.
all different kinds of backgrounds, and help us feel safe and connected without
Hmm.
while managing these boundaries. It is one of the hardest things. So if you're one of these healers out there who are doing this for people. I think Demir does this really well too. I mean, I think he does that really well too of this boundary. We asked him about boundaries. Hashtag shout out to Demir if you're out there, Demir. I love you so much. You're
So
the
much love to
best.
Demir. So
Oh,
much love.
he's amazing. Go listen to his music. You won't regret it. But like we asked him about boundaries because like at that
Yeah.
time I was in the throes of needing that information. He was like, "Oh, I don't have boundaries. I don't need them." I'm like, "What?" Like, how? But it's just because he's just so like
Everything's done with love.
he just doesn't even think about it as boundaries.
Yeah.
He's just able to navigate all that just so seamlessly. And
Yeah.
I aspire to be like you, Demir, if you're watching.
Yeah, it's funny because he probably doesn't call it boundaries, but I imagine he's probably had to say some hard things to people like, hey, I
Have
can't
to.
be friends with you right now, but it's all done in love. And so when you
Mhm.
know that, like you just, little Kristen heard a little bit earlier, it's not about rejection, it's about loving them. Oh God. Well, I know we've just about to hit the hour mark here. Is there any,
Wow.
no, right? Like that flew by. Are there any ending thoughts that you have about we've talked about a lot, but I know there's always more in this category because it's a lot. Is there any last point that you'd like to hit on or thing you'd like to talk about?
I think, yes, I'll leave us with this profound wisdom that's coming forth.
Love it.
So I had one of my close friends called me once and she was talking to me about friendship. And she was feeling so very rejected, especially as a
Mhm.
mom. And I see this a lot, like a lot of moms who want mom friends, to do like life with and stuff because it's like so lonely and
Yeah.
isolating and stuff. And it's like so hard to make mom friends. Like this is something that's universal that I hear. And I said to her, I said her name, which I won't share on this podcast, but I said her name and I said, listen, who you're really yearning for friendship is for your with yourself. You are looking
Mhm.
outside of yourself for this friend that's going to come
Mhm.
in and make you whole when
Mhm.
really what you actually need is to be learn to be a best fucking friend with yourself. And she was like sobbing and she was like, holy cow, this is it. Yeah, you're
Yeah.
right. I'm
That's a
like,
drop
so
the mic moment right there. Drop that mic. It's real.
boom. So, but I feel like that's an important thing to end this
Yes.
podcast with
I
because I
love that.
think that if you're searching for
Yes.
friendship outside of you so strongly and you're like, I'm waiting for that best friend or that partner or that
Yes.
person to
Yeah.
show up and to just make me
And
feel whole,
be everything that I need.
that's actually a deeper calling to do that for yourself.
Boom. I didn't even think about that being the perfect way to end this episode, but you're so right. I think, and this also speaks to all those people who have wanted to be our friends over the years that we've had to either step away from
We
or
love you. We
ghost. We
love
love you.
you.
We love you. But ultimately, you just nailed it. What they were looking for is not actually us. They felt the love from us and they wanted that love. Well, guess what? That love is within you. And if you
Mhm.
can go within first and, like you said, become your own best fucking friend, then those other friends that you want outside will naturally gravitate to you. Because I can sense, okay, yeah, I guess this is something else I wanted to say before we're done. I can
Great.
sense when someone's not whole.
Yeah.
And when someone wants to be friends with me, and I can already tell that they're grasping for water, grasping for air in a sense, because they are so disconnected from themselves, energetically, I can already feel myself pushing away from them.
Mhm.
Because if you're not whole and you're trying to fill yourself with me, that's not going to work. And it's certainly going to drain me. Not just drain me energetically, it's draining the life force out of me.
Yeah.
So if you find yourself in a place where you're like, why do I not have enough friends? Why do I always have get rejected from friends? Why do I would stop and really look inside of yourself and ask yourself, am I my own best friend first? Can I be my own best friend? Because there's probably something there. Because I know no matter what's happening, and Tom is a great example of this too. Like, I met him at a point when I was whole by myself. So, like,
Mhm.
I could spend all day with myself, all week with myself, and be so happy because I'm fucking easy to hang out with.
I
So
agree.
easy and so much fun and so Yeah. So I
But
love that you
it's
brought that up.
but it's seeing that, like that's the same thing that I had with my husband too. It's like
Mm,
like once I decided I was enough for me and I was willing to spend
yeah.
time with my own self and didn't need to seek that outside of myself
Yeah.
i- in activities and people in anything, and could
Hmm.
sit with myself and love my own company and love being by myself and love hanging out with myself, where that filled me up, that I
Yeah.
realized, oh yeah, okay, now I have the capacity to draw the right
Yes.
person toward me
Yes.
who isn't drowning and needs me to help save them. It's
No.
they're
Then
swimming
it's just about
alongside of
they're
me.
like add swimming alongside you like Nemo, finding Nemo, touch the
Touch the
butt.
butt.
And
So
it's all
many inside
about
jokes. I'm sorry, guys. So many
yes.
inside jokes.
It's all about what they can add to your life. And it's just
Mm.
about what they add. It's not about, do they have bad days? Yes, but that doesn't take away. It doesn't drain you.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh,
Yeah.
so good.
Be your best friend. You can be your best
Best,
friend.
best, best.
Be your own
Oh
best
my
friend.
God. Okay, I feel called to say if you're listening to this episode, oh
Mm.
God, I keep hitting my mic, and or the last episode with Kristin, and these episodes have prompted you with more questions, would
Yeah.
you please actually write in like mo@iloveitwhen.org, pretty easy email, or text me or DM me or whatever,
Or
and
better
send
yet,
me
comment down
comment
below.
down below. Tell us what else you would like us to talk about because I feel like these episodes might spur other questions, more
Yeah.
examples, people want feedback. So I think this could be something that we do again and responding to people's comments or questions or just asking for further explanation on this episode because I think this is a big one.
I also think this is the big
Super
one.
big.
Two big,
Hashtag the
two big,
big one.
two big ones right in a row.
Well, thank you, Miss
Big.
Kristin Wise, for your time and the preparation I know that you do energetically for the podcast and to put your best and highest self out there and for your vulnerability. I appreciate you.
Thank you, Margaret. I appreciate you. All right, everybody, go sign up for Mo's More One. Yeah. Go sign up and work with Mo. And yeah, if you've got more questions, drop them in the freaking
Yeah.
comments.
Work with me and work with Kristin.
Work with
Check out Kristin's membership.
Like,
Okay.
dance with us. Dance with us. Yeah. All right. And be your own
All right.
best friend.
Be your own best friend. Okay, I think we better end at that.